Hi, I am Chess Life digital editor John Hartman, and I am here today with the newly crowned U.S. senior champion, Joel Benjamin. Joel, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
A history-making turn. You are, as the St. Louis Chess Club has been promoting, the first person to win the junior, the U.S. Open closed, I guess, so to speak, and then the senior championship. Although it should be said, this is only the second year the senior championship has been in existence.
Yes, yeah.
But still,
And the guy who won the first one did not grow up in America, so he couldn't win the junior.
that just means you did it on the first shot. So that's
Yeah.
pretty good. So very impressive result. I'm going to share the cross table real quick, just so everybody can sort of see it. You won by a full point and a half, which is not too shabby. So talk a little bit about the event. What your perception was, how you prepared, how this was different playing from your office as opposed to playing from St. Louis.
Well, first of all, the St. Louis Chess Club inaugurated this tournament last year, and that was really a wonderful thing. To recognize senior chess is extremely strong in America. I don't think any other country really has the kind of active powerhouses that we have. And so that was a great start. And then this year came, 2020, enough said. And nobody knew what was going to happen with the tournaments. And then I guess, they kept planning, and then, I don't know, like a month ago, they sent out an invitation saying they were going to do all the, what is it, five
of them,
5 major championships, and they were going to do them all in 1 month, and because the calendar is getting very short. So I think they really had to do rapid play just to be able to get all the events into crowded calendar. And online chess, I mean, some people love it. I'm not a big fan. I played 1 season in the Pro Chess League, and 3 of our first 4 opponents cheated. This is just in the beginning of the event, not even the last rounds. So I mean, everybody knows, and you play in an open tournament, you can expect that kind of stuff. So the thing is, I mean, nobody in my tournament is going to cheat, but there's all these weird protocols, with all these. You have to have 2 computers and 2 Zooms and 1 Skype, and
yeah, it was weird. I mean, when I was watching the coverage, I kept seeing in the background of everyone like a separate computer with the screen on it, and
yes.
I mean, it seems like they really tried to take the security seriously.
They did, but I suspect that of course, there's a bit of a learning curve, like the first day was chaos, and then it got a little bit better. But I imagine they had a lot of easier time setting up the junior championship than the senior championship, because we're all having our senior moments trying to figure out the technology. And Dimitri even had a friend in to help him with the setup, So there was that part, which was very weird and kind of off-putting, like just not knowing what that was going to be like, in addition to the fact that we're, playing over the computer. And now I had some experience with that, playing in the US Chess League for many years, so that part wasn't so odd. But as far as the preparation goes, I just what I wanted to do mostly was just get out of the opening in decent shape and not burn a lot of time, because that really tends to decide these games if you get into trouble on the clock. And I was actually not very successful with that at the outset, but I think I got maybe a little bit better at that. And yeah, so I mean, I don't think the openings were necessarily all that magnificent, but they served their purposes for me.
Well, yeah. Should we take a look at some of the games? Do you just want to go one by one, or are there key games that you'd rather look at?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been through all of them yet myself.
Okay.
Let's see.
I mean, we can just start at the beginning and go wherever you want. So.
Oh, let's start from the fourth round against Gurevich. This
Okay.
is really painful. So this is shows you the up and downs. You know,
Yeah, the
I just
masochism.
the blunder. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
So should we get to the key point, or do you want to go through the whole game?
we could just get to we should get to the point where I blundered. I just moved you out of the way so I can see the board.
As well, you should.
Okay.
All right. So we have fixed our technical
Or
glitch.
maybe you should flip the board.
Sure. And it is black to move in this position. And so, yeah, Joel, tell us kind of what's going on and what happened here.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I had made some miscalculations earlier. You know, like I forgot about the move when he played Rook A B1, and then my knight was briefly in some trouble on D3. I think he maybe could have taken advantage, but I managed to handle that and trade all the rooks and get to a safe position. And as soon as he traded the rooks, he offered a draw. Now, my first thought was, can we really make a draw on move 23?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's not 30 moves. It turns out that that's not a rule for the tournament. But in any case, I'm not in any danger in the position. I kept playing on, and I got to the diagram position, and everything's fine. But the problem is, you know, I made you know, a rookie mistake. You know, I saw a tactic and I got all excited, and it just totally clouded my vision. And as soon as I made the move, I saw that he has knight e4 check. But the thing is, I could have, yeah. Now after that, I'm just lost because he's going to take the pawn and put it on a7, and eventually I'm going to lose a piece. So that's instantly losing. Now, if you take back that move, knight a4,
Sure.
I could play knight b3 check, but I can also play here. I can also try something like f5 to take away the e4 square. Basically, it's a position, I'm really kind of playing this for free. I have no losing chances in this position as long as I don't blunder. So, you know, it's perfectly reasonable to not take a draw. I mean, I really don't regret that I didn't take the draw for it, because I could have put it right back to him instead of blundering. And that's just really so horrible to give it away like that. And last year I made a lot of terrible blunders, but last year I was coming off a terrible cough, which actually was so bad that it made me faint on a couple of occasions.
Yikes.
But this year I was in good health. I had no excuses. But that was so horrible to lose this game after starting off, you know, with 2.5 out of 3. And I'm just thinking, you know, I hope it's not gonna go on like this. And so the next round I played Patrick Wolf, and I said, okay, Joel, you got to settle down. You got to just play very simply. You know, get your head back in the game. Play simply. Be prepared to trade. And if it comes to draw, it comes to draw. But you know, don't let this mushroom into a losing streak. So let's go ahead and take a look at that game if we can.
Yeah. So this is really a really nice positional win that you had here. Where should we pick it up?
Could you put me on put the white on, flip the board again,
Sure.
put me on bottoms.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Let's just roll through the moves.
Sure.
You know, basically it's you know, it's a solid opening. You know, I just haven't had the temperament for the Open Sicilian much over the last few years. And yeah, so usually it's a better system for black to play e6 against the c3 method.
Okay.
But I'm sacrificing a tempo with the d pawn to get him to feed the bishop, so that washes out. Okay, and yeah. Now after e5, you know, everybody plays knight c3 in this position, and I just didn't like e takes d4, and I think I'm right about that. Most people don't play e takes d4, but then we get this dynamic position, and black has got ideas of playing d5. And I was like, no, I don't want that, you know. So I took on e5, and he took with a knight, which I think was a good move. And probably here I should play knight c3, but even here, you know, that if he takes on f3, I probably get a better version of what I got in the game. You know, maybe bring the bishop to g5 and go for that knight versus bishop. But again, I just wanted to take the dynamism out of the game. I know that Patrick is a very good calculator, and I just wanted to play very simply. So I just, you know, just took on e5 to keep the pawn structure blocked, and that led to a lot of trading. And okay, so we can roll through it until we get to the queen and knight against queen and bishop. So every Russian schoolboy knows, we keep going. Every Russian schoolboy knows queen and knight is better than queen and bishop, right? That's what Yerma would say. Every Russian schoolboy knows. So this position, okay, white has a small edge. Probably it's a drawable position, but it's nicer for white. Then he plays queen c6. I honestly thought this was a really bad move, but the engine says queen c6 is fine and the position is a draw. And the engine is kind of right that it is a draw, but it's where black is going to have to make some accurate moves, and white has an easy time. It's a beautiful position to play in a rapid game.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you would evaluate it differently if it was a classical game as opposed to a rapid game.
Oh, I would always be happy to play this position. Now, if this is a game where I had to, you know, I had to win to save my life, then I might be a little worried because it's probably going to be a draw, but I'm never going to lose it. And black, like I said, black has to play accurately.
3.
All right, so I'll tell you when we need to stop.
Ignore my doodlings in here.
Yeah, around here, what did I play king e4? I should have played knight c4 is much stronger because his bishop is actually in a bad spot. If he goes, okay, if he goes king e6 and his king is out of position, and then king a4 and b5 happens. Yeah. If he plays, instead of king e6, if he plays f6, then I go king a4 and his bishop is stuck offside. And you know what that was? That was just one of those quick moves. I had time. I just played that move a little bit too quickly. And as soon as I played king a4, I realized that he can play bishop d8 and he's on a drawing track after that move because he's keeping me out. Even bishop e3 wasn't that bad. He still gets his bishop in a decent spot. Bishop d4, king a5, king c7, king a6. And now I thought I was winning routinely, but I'm not sure that that's actually true because he can actually, well, let's keep going. Bishop f2 is okay. Bishop d4 is a blunder. He has to play. He has to take and play g5, and then when I go for the game maneuver, he can bring his king up, and he draws by one tempo, basically. So. You know, I'd say as grandmaster, my instinct would be to try to play it actively like that, you know. But after bishop d4, knight a5, then he doesn't have time to run with his king, and I guess he hadn't seen the tactic with the king in the corner. I'd already planned it.
Which is, I mean, really one of the star moves of the tournament. Really pretty.
It is pretty cute. I mean, it's not difficult once you get there, but yeah, it's a nice little construction because after b6, the bishop has a square, but it traps in his own king and leads to a checkmate.
Yeah, just to show everybody. So if bishop b8,
yeah, so
it's
a winning pawn ending.
Which is just.
So now this is the second day. I was not I was not interviewed by the gang on that day, but if Maurice had asked me, I would have told him that this game was smooth. I know he likes that word, smooth, but this was the first game that was kind of smooth, you know, but it was not typical of how the tournament went.
I was going to ask you about that because the way you described your mindset going into this game, it seemed when I was playing through your games, and really a lot of the games among a lot of the players, that sort of going for simplicity, not fearing trades, you know, trying to play positionally. That seemed to be something that was, with the exception of maybe Larry and Patrick, that seemed to be something that was kind of a theme in a lot of the games. Does that seem
Oh,
accurate?
Larry, I did a lot of trading. That game, I did a lot of trading.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, it's just, I mean, my style, I guess, is fairly simple. I mean, I like to attack, but I like to build up to attacks. I don't like to go into some sharp openings. I actually had a lot of sharp openings prepared for the tournament. Like in some cases, I was going to play something a lot sharper against Novikov, but when I got to that situation, I said, dude, if you draw, you're home free. So there's no reason to create the complications from the open, you know. So really, after I beat Yermo, and that game was a gift because I messed up that opening. I just had my brain cut out for a moment, and I was struggling and way behind on the clock. But then the lucky thing for me was that Yermo he's not, the dynamic kind of player that, let's say, Shaba or Greg are. And he just traded off everything into an ending. I know he's great in the ending, but it was a whole lot
Should we
easier.
put this up? Should we put this?
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, yeah,
Throw that up there again. So this was round 6.
yeah.
And so then,
Okay, 92. I just forgot. I mean, if he goes knight c6, I go 92. But against castles, I have to play bishop e3. I knew that. I knew that you have to avoid castling. I knew all about this rook c8 trick. And then I just played 92, and I just like, oh, wait a second, that's not the right move. You know? So it's like after b5, I'm already struggling just to get out of the opening.
yeah.
And I had the worst part was I had to burn a lot of time. So I managed to get to this ending. Well, actually, let's back it up a little more.
Sure.
Let's go to move 18. His move 18. I mean, I was much more afraid that he'd do something like knight takes a2. I was worried about. Although now that I look at it, I guess I have queen d2 threatens to take the knight on f6. I think I didn't notice that at the time, but but I see that you have a notation for rook d8. But basically, any move keeping things on the board would have been a little bit annoying for me. After you took on d5, I was very happy to play bishop f6 and start trading. And then I feel like the position is genuinely a draw. But I had like 2.5 minutes on my clock.
Wow.
And he had like 15. So I think basically, let's go to the position if the bishop takes e5. Oh, can I play rook hc1? I think he's got to keep some pieces on the board somehow. I think if he tries to keep some pieces, like he could play something like rook d8 and bishop d6, and I think just keep pieces on the board, even if it doesn't seem like it's consistent. Just because I have 2.5 minutes, I'm probably gonna blunder, or something's gonna happen on my clock. He traded off everything into the minor piece ending, and I guess the minor piece ending is tricky. But the thing is, if Black wants to win it, he has to risk losing it too. So it's not like it's a technical exercise to play this ending for Black. And I was happy with that. It's okay, I understand I can lose this position, but I can also win this position. I have an outside pawn majority. So I was just always calculating. I don't think I ever allowed the pawn ending when we could roll through a few more moves to when I put a knight on e3.
Here we go.
Yeah, so, okay, obviously I wrote a book on pawn endings. You could even say 2 books because there are two editions. So I went through hundreds of liquidations into pawn endings. So this is something that I've studied a lot. And, I was aware of the potential zugzwangs, but also if Black does it wrong, then he can even lose some of those pawn endings. So saying, okay, that's a lot he's got to work out. But then after he didn't go for this one, then I came up with this nice idea of knight c2. I think that was a key maneuver because now his king can't come up because of knight b4. And then after that, I got king c4 and b4, and then I get the pawns rolling. And so now I don't have to worry about these pawn endings anymore because I've got that outside pass pawn going. Yeah. So then it turned pretty quickly because takes and knight d4, and already black has to be careful. And e3 is a blunder. After knight f3, I'm winning the game.
Right.
Yeah, and I understood that I'm winning, and I think he offered a draw here or the next move, but no, it's too late.
It's a very nice turnaround here. And did this feel like sort of a turning point for you in the tournament? Like you began to feel confident here, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, after this, yeah, this was probably the biggest gift of the tournament in my opinion. Even though I don't think that I was ever lost in this game, but just the fact that I was so far behind on the clock, that my odds really weren't good.
Yeah.
So this is a big break for me. But after I won this, for the first time, I felt I'm really a huge favorite to win because I saw that the other players weren't scoring big. And I understood that my schedule the last day was fairly easy. And I really didn't think I was going to lose to Shelby Getz in the last round, and if I had to beat him, I could probably beat him. So I felt, now things are going well for me.
Do you want to take a look at any of the other games, or do you feel like this is a pretty representative sample?
I mean, I'm pretty good as far as this as far as this goes. Against Igor, really the plan was just not to lose, and Igor also is a guy that's not he's not a super dynamic player. He usually makes cautious decisions, and he played pretty cautiously in this game. And then I ended up with a better position, and maybe with some small subtleties that I could have won. I see some notation saying that I was winning, but the thing is that if you have 2 minutes on your clock and you have to take a minute to find the winning move, well, what if that winning move isn't there?
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary because basically this draw won the tournament for me, especially with Novikov losing to Yermolinsky in the next round. I was pretty confident that if I went into the last round half a point up, that it was over. And even if I went into the last round tied, I thought I would still win. So I wasn't going to take a chance on Novikov leapfrogging me with winning this game.
Were you able to sort of keep track of your peers while the games were going on, or did you have to wait until after the round to sort of see what happened and figure out?
No, there was no way. So really what I did is I had my iPad on the site, upstairs in a different room. And that when I finished the game, I'd go up and check my iPad to see what happened in the other games.
Yeah.
So, so after my draw with Larry, and when I checked out the game between Yermolinsky and Novikov, I said, "Oh, this looks good. I mean, this is a can't lose, might win for Yermolinsky." And then suddenly I see a pawn ending. And the thing about the live games, for some reason, the games don't post a result. They just stop.
Yeah.
They don't have a result. So I see the position stops after king c3, and I'm like, huh? It's like outside pass pawn, liquidation into the pawn end game. And it's like, oh, this is winning for Yermo. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the lead by a point, So then I thought, okay, well, obviously if I don't lose the last round, then I've got the tournament. And I really was pretty calm for that game. In fact, I missed a couple of tactics for me now that I've looked back on it. I missed a couple of tactics, not because I was nervous, which is more likely how it happens, but because I was very calm, because I understood that there's no way I was going to lose that. I was going to lose that position. I mean, if I'd gotten a bad position in the opening, then the pressure builds up. But I had such an easy game. And I really don't understand. I understand that Shelby Getz likes to play these weird openings, But why play the exact same opening that he played against Novikov and lost? I checked it on the computer, and there's nothing for white. It's just bad.
It's I asked around a bit because he was playing the same thing at the Senior Open last year, or at the Tournament of Senior Champions. He was playing A3, and Fedorowicz, said, "Hey, listen, don't do that in the senior in the championship."
No, I'm okay with the A3, but I'm saying that, that if you try something and it fails and there's no improvements for you along the way, you do it 2 days later against another player. I'm going to go through it on the engine, and I checked that there was no room for improvement for white. There was nothing there. There's just nothing there after C5. So, I was very confident. I see he was playing quick moves, but he didn't have anything. He just walked into a worse position. And then I offered him a draw, and actually we can get that position up after Queen C6.
You share that, sure. And we'll go there. And hang on. There we go. After Queen C6.
Which is move.
There we go.
Okay. So, all right. I've actually missed a couple of tactics. There was, of course, Bishop B2. There's also a knight takes F4, pawn on F4 was also winning, which I didn't have any idea until this morning. Okay, after Queen C6, the best move for white is Bishop C4. And then probably black should play E6. I think I certainly would have defended the pawn. Then white can play Rook D1. And I can trade rooks and take the pawn at G2. And the position is, it's a pawn up for black.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never lose that position, but, is it winning? I don't know. Bishop up his colors. It's not a position that I'd really care to prosecute under the circumstances, where now I didn't know that nobody was going to win the last round. I think there were 3 players that that had a chance to catch me if I lost. So I didn't know what they were going to do. So it's okay. So if I had known that none of them were going to win, then I could happily play out this game. Losing wouldn't matter. But if okay, that's fine. Offer a draw. So after Queen C6, this is like a very fair offer. Okay. I mean, white's best is a pawn down ending with no chance to win. But I don't know. He decided that he played on with Queen C2, and which is not a good move. I think the engine says that Rook E6 is maybe even stronger than Queen D5, but Queen D5 is, basically wins. Queen D5 is pretty strong. The best move for white is King B1, which is not very obvious because it allows black to come to the 8th rank, which again is a position that black will never in a million years lose, right? Rook E6 is actually the strongest move here, and it just takes off a pawn for nothing, I think. But I didn't really think about that. I was pretty sure he was going to play E4, but I realized that Queen A2 was basically winning. And there's one more tactic after C4. Yeah, after C4, if he plays Bishop E2, I can take on C3, and I did see that. Yeah, this move is very strong. If he takes with the queen, then I can check and take the rook. It's just a winning position. Yeah, because he can't block with the queen anymore.
Right.
And if he takes with the pawn, I play Queen A1 and Queen C3, and it's mate or devastating win of material.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, so that Bishop C3 was already in my head. So the position where I played Bishop takes C3, it was not easy. It was not difficult to find that one.
Then Bishop takes C3 here.
Bishop takes C3 is that's
lights out.
That's a killer, yeah. And then Rook D1, I was happy to see that because I had already seen mate was coming. So yeah, it was a good feeling.
Nice way to finish out the tournament.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So now that you are the senior champion, I wonder if you're going to return to writing, because I did want to talk to you about your book.
I never left it. Maybe for like a couple of weeks.
let me pull up the screen of that. So this is the cover for your brand new book out from New in Chess, World Champion Chess for Juniors: Learn from the Greatest Players Ever. So tell us what the book's about and why you wrote it.
Well, the book is, it covers the world champions. I included Morphy because he was so dominant and iconic. So even though he's an official world champion, I start from Morphy. I go from Morphy to Carlsen, and I include everyone except for people who won from, those world championship tournaments with the rapid chess and all that, with, like Armageddon type champions. So I didn't include those. I did include Topalov. So I think that's 18 in all. And it was, I would give a few of their best games and try to explain their style and what they brought to the table, what they were really good at, what they did to further the game, and what we can learn from them.
The joys of living in 2020 in the Zoom age.
Okay, no, it will go away anyway.
That'll go away.
Yeah. So now, why did I write? Now I talk about this in the introduction to the book. A few years ago, I was at a chess camp, and two of the instructors, who were 20-ish, let's say, they admitted that they were unable to name all of the world champions. And if you gave them the name of a world champion, they were unable to put them in the proper time period. Like for instance, like if you said, Botvinnik, they might say the 20s or the 70s or whatever, So I thought, like, this is just a travesty, And I remembered, how I grew up in the 70s, and all we had was books. We didn't have computers. We didn't even own computers. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have engines. We didn't have databases. We didn't have any of that stuff. Magazines, well, they were way behind. We were lucky to find out any information about what's going on in the Soviet Union, or faraway places. All we had to learn from was books. So when I was growing up, I had all the great players, all the champions and a lot of the players who weren't champions but were great players. And I learned from studying their games. And what I've learned is that young people don't do that anymore. They're all now, puzzle rush, and like, can I get my rating up to 3,700 in tactics? And so that they just study tactics, and they, look at openings, and they put their engine on to tell them if they played the right move, and all that. And of course you learn from that. It's producing talented players, but I think that you miss out on something when you don't have an appreciation of history and how the great players of the past developed the game. And it leads to a lot of players who are very strong in some ways but have huge holes in their game in other places. So that was really kind of the main inspiration for the book. Now, as I wrote the book, it kind of became bigger and bigger because I thought, like, wow, these guys have so many games, and I wanted to put more and more games, and I wanted to talk more about them. And it ended up being a 250-page book, which is a bit large, I guess, maybe for a book, directed as juniors, but it's just, I just think it's got a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, as I told you before we started, my copy actually is showing up today. You actually haven't seen them yet, I'm told.
My books have not arrived yet. So I mean, I guess I've seen it. I've seen some of the pages inside, but I don't have the book yet.
No, I think this is. I think it's a really great idea. My experience with working with kids is that it's absolutely the same thing. They don't know who the great players of the past were, and their chess culture is kind of it's not well formed for that reason.
No, they have no chess culture, and I think that actually my greatest target audience might be teachers. I think teachers will love this book.
Yeah.
Because the teachers want the kids to know these things that they don't know.
That did sort of lead me into the last question I wanted to ask you, and this goes a little bit afield, but hopefully it'll make sense. I was watching Sam Shankland on the Chess Dojo. Do you know these guys, Kostya Kavutsky and Jesse Cry and David Pruce? They have like a you know who they are, but
I know those guys.
yeah,
I'm. It's hard to keep up with all the stuff out there.
it's a blessing and a curse. It's trying to keep tabs on all of it is tough. But so they were talking about Jesse's burning desire to get into the senior championship, and Shankland had a kind of an interesting idea about how he should do it. What he said was, in his opinion, if Jesse wanted to do it, what he should not do is try to beat you guys in terms of chess culture or positional chess or things like that. That with so many ex-Soviets in the field and so many of you guys who played with them for so many years, you're not going to make simple mistakes. And so the reason I'm asking this has to do with the chess culture thing. His suggestion was to max out on tactics, and so that he was gonna if Jesse was going to catch you guys, it was going to be in the tactical field. Now this sounds to me like something like someone who was brought up with the computer would say in response to what you just said about chess culture and the holes in people's games, right? That the way to beat players today is not to become a better positional player, but just to wait for them to make a mistake and then pounce. Does that seem? Is there like a generational divide there that we need to reckon with, or is this just one guy's opinion?
Well, first I want to tackle the original question. I can tell you that as a teenager growing up, the basic premise was that when you played an old Soviet goat, you would play e4 against them and you try to checkmate them. I also use that philosophy against Yasser, who's a great positional player, but he was checkmateable, and I did manage to do it a few times playing e4. But as time went on, that changed a lot, and the younger generation of Russian players were just like a lot more dynamic and attacking players. They weren't, because people eventually realized, like, okay, more and more people are getting cultured and they know how to play a fundamental ending. So it's very different. It depends on everybody, and you can't say the strategy against Shaba is the same as the strategy against Yermo. I mean, they're completely different animals, So it's you can't overgeneralize. I think you just the good advice for Jesse would be to be practical against each player and kind of steer into the right kind of thing to play against them. But I think I think the younger generation of players in general, they're very good tactically. But the problem is that whereas it used to be pretty easy to take advantage of younger players, it's not anymore, because the computers make up the difference. The databases and the engines, they learn things so much quicker. You can't profit from the experience in the same way you used to. It happens much less frequently now. It's much harder to do it because it's so easy for them to learn things and plug up those gaps. But it's they're not just all tactical machines like my man John Burke, who just won the junior. When he was 9 years old, he was a terrific endgame player. I mean, he was an extremely dangerous tactician, but he was a really good endgame player too. And if he didn't checkmate you, he'd say, like, okay, I'm going to trade queens now and win the endgame. He realized that as a little kid.
I will say, Sam, he was asked about both Carissa and John, and in the process, he talked up John's talent immensely. He said he was perhaps the most impressive American junior of this generation.
Wow.
Which
I
is
mean, I'm yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit too close, because I worked with him for, I don't know, 5 or 6. I don't even remember when he outgrew me, but I saw this process from A player to at least international master. I don't know if you I think it was international master, and then we kind of stopped. And I could see, like, from the very first game he showed me, where he actually lost in the first round of the under 10 championship, youth championship. And he showed me the game, and I didn't really care that he lost the game. I couldn't believe how many variations he showed me. Because usually when I ask kids, why did you play this move? I don't know. Why didn't you play this move? Oh, I didn't think of it. You know, he was calculating everything. So I could see it. I could say, um, where was this? This was in Rhodes last year with the senior team. We were talking about players, and I was sitting with Yermo and Shaba, and they were saying, they said like Burke, he doesn't make mistakes. And I thought, like, wow, that's really cool. And then they said, like, oh, he's your student, and Brandon too. I think, well, he's got some good ones. But it's every now and then you have a really great student just fall into your lap like that. I mean, John, I got, because we met at the tournament, and I met his family, and he's from New Jersey, and I was I'd been living in New Jersey for like 5 years at that point. I said, like, well, why don't we work together during the tournament? I'm certainly going to want to be following you after this. So we worked together, and we began a formal relationship after that. And I think I was approached by Brandon's mom for lessons because I had been working successfully with John, and also got Praveen in there too. So I had three of the guys in this tournament grew up with me. It's like, it was tremendously satisfying to see the kind of success that they've all had.
Every teacher wants to see their students outgrow them. It's an amazing thing.
Well, there have been teachers from time to time who like to blow their own horn and say, this kid, this guy became great because of all the things I taught him. I'll tell you those. I mean, I know I helped, and to different degrees with each of them, but I know that, for John Burke, there's no way to mess that up. I just had to not get in his way, basically. He was going to be a grandmaster no matter what. He just had that talent.
Excellent.
Not just a talent, but the great motivation and drive. He works very well on his own. He doesn't need people to show him what to do. He's been that way a long time.
All right. Well, Joel, we have taken up more of your time than I thought, but I think there's been a lot of good content in here, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure the readers and viewers of Chess Life Online will appreciate it as well.
Okay, I'm
Right.
glad to be with you.